Greetings everyone, I am Dr. J and welcome to the first of many videos as I catalog my attempt to get through Maddening mode in Fire Emblem Engage. For those of you new to the channel, I've spent quite a bit of time with Fire Emblem over the last few years, with a bunch of streams of 3 houses, as well as a couple of long-winded videos on a separate review channel. Naturally, this meant I had to check out Engage, but either because my only experience of Fire Emblem was the GBA games, 3 houses, and the Warrior spin-offs, or just because the writing sucks, my thoughts on the story for this one boiled down to pointing at the screen and saying cringe. Instead of inflicting that on all of you, unless popular demand insists I eventually do so, I figured I'd showcase the part of the game which is unequivocally great, the gameplay, specifically by showing off my Maddening mode run. More to the point, this will be a great chance to try something a little different, as alongside in-the-moment commentary as I try to make the strategy in my head translate to something workable in-game, I'll primarily be doing post-game commentary, talking through the game balance, what my plan was, what worked, what didn't, and cataloging every bit of good and bad luck that occurred. And rest assured, there's plenty of that to go around. Enemy units that refused to get hit, strings of bad luck that made mincemeat of my units, and a whole host of critical hits that are so extra you'd think I were looking at a deleted scene. There's a lot to see to, and to start us out, I would like to introduce you to the sum totality of interesting things that happened in the first 3 chapters. That's the one you crit, really? On a 4%? I mean, sure, that means he's easy prey for literally anyone now, but still.
Don't think so.
As expected. Wait, what?
Me at your peril. I am as strong as ever.
I got 2 crits in a row. On a 4% and a 5%. That's impressive. 2 crits at 4 and 5% back to back. Still, outside of that, it's honestly a good thing I don't have much more to say on those maps. One of the problems you had with 3 houses was, with how much customization the game gave you for units and abilities, the map design had to be fairly generic throughout, and the difficulty curve for Maddening mode ended up effectively inverted. It was really tough while you had very little to work with, and then once you got further along and could properly specialize, it started to become a lot easier. In Engage, though, the fact that you don't have all of that customization yet means they can make encounters more difficult, but not, well, maddeningly so. Not yet, anyway. Still, for our first battle to showcase, we've got a good example of this. Over in the center of the map, we have 2 units who are providing a distraction for their princess to run over to the main group and deliver unto us a gift of untapped magical potential. One of these is Louis, an armored unit, who can withstand basically anything at this stage that doesn't involve magic. And the other is Chloe, a flying unit, who can take on mages till the cows come home but falls like a house of cards the moment an archer so much as breathes in her general direction. In order to demonstrate the concept, we can toss Louis into the forts over here to improve his ability to avoid attacks, like he even needs it, and Chloe can go over here and get beat up by mages instead of Louis. As for our main force, our starting formation doesn't matter all that much, though I did tamper with it to set our axe-swinger Boucheron to tag the spearman, as well as give our cavalry unit the ability to retreat a bit after he tags the other spearman. For those unfamiliar with the game, the main gimmick for this one are the emblem rings, who are the obligatory nostalgia bait made into wearable form, with each one giving different powers. Our main character Alear has Marth to improve her swordplay, while Alfred gets Sigurd to allow him to really clear some ground if he needs to move. At the start, we're also given Saline, who brings us Emblem Celica, a mage that can amplify the magical strength of anyone she's put on. And oh look, there's a convenient armored unit with the magical defense of a pillow fort for us to showcase that. Though, since it isn't quite enough to take out the armored unit, I do have to bring Alear next to her, as each character has a unique ability. In Alear's case, she gives extra damage and damage reduction to adjacent allies, which makes enough of a difference for Saline to delete the armored dude. Still, to make sure that she doesn't get mulched by the spearmen, we can throw our axe swingers in the way and take out said spearmen in the process, with some help from our archer named Etier. This is Maddening after all, gotta make us work for every victory. Apart from that, I've got an ability on my healer called Chain Guard that lets her take a slight amount of damage in exchange for stomping the first strike to a nearby ally. So even though Alfred took some damage in the prior exchange, he'll be raring to go when it's the enemy's turn to start swinging. Speaking of which, enemy phase. Everyone who got attacked gave as good as they got, with the standout being Louis. Okay, that was a lucky exchange. I will certainly take it. That miss won't factor into things too much, as the fort Louis is standing on will heal him for 10 HP at the top of the round, but a lucky exchange is a lucky exchange. With where everyone starts out, we've got a couple decisions to make. The main force doesn't have much to worry about yet, but the units approaching from the north and the ones attacking Louis and Chloe could prove an issue. With Chloe already on half health, I'm basically compelled to have her spend her turn on healing rather than attacking. And because I didn't pay attention to the range on the enemy mage, she's not going to do as much damage as one might like. The weapons a character uses can have a major effect on how well they do. And in Chloe's case, she's given a slim lance, which often lets her attack more than once in a given exchange, and a javelin, which can be thrown if a mage wants to try and be tricksy from range. Since most magic spells have a range of 2, I assume the enemy mage had the same despite having a chance to look at the enemy's inventory and not notice the spell contained therein, as the enemy had equipped a range 1 spell that's guaranteed to land. As such, since I equipped the javelin, less damage on the mage than ideal. Regardless, that leaves the force attacking Louis, which could prove troublesome. There's a side objective to prevent a unit from reaching this house, and while it's most likely that we just have to keep this brigand away, given the whole "tee-hee, I'm a bad guy" speech from the bastard, I'd rather not take that chance. As a result, to help thin their numbers, I can have Saline use the active ability from Emblem Celica. Every emblem offers passive buffs to the wielder, but when engaged, they further strengthen the wielder for 3 turns and give you a 1-use active move. In Celica's case, she gets a move called Warp Ragnarok, which lets her teleport up to an enemy's face and lay the smackdown. So since the cavalry units is the most concerning, and the one she can actually kill, behold the prettiest light show you'll ever see.
Grant me strength. Allow your soul the rest it deserves.
Mostly because it's the last light show you'll ever see. Either way, since I want Louis to stay where he doesn't have to spam vulneraries to heal himself, all he's able to do is get in a protracted slap fight with the enemy armored dude where the enemy isn't even able to land the slap. So let's get back to the main force. The immediate threats aren't easy enough to deal with, given that our other mage named Clan can immediately knock the armored unit over, and since the archer can't strike at anyone right next to him, Boucheron can line it up for Etier to knock him down. The real concern are the incoming cavalry and flying units. Along with keeping the traditional weapon triangle, this game added a mechanic called Break, where if you land the initial swing at someone with an advantageous weapon, they can't retaliate against you or the next person who attacks them. As a result, Alfred is just gonna engage in delay tactics, ensuring that Fram can stay behind him and heal him, even if he'll still take some damage when it rolls over to the enemy phase. And then I had the brilliant idea to actually let the enemy have Break against my other mounted unit named Vander. After all, the enemy will typically engage in whatever attack they can get away with, and since Saline's posse will have a harder time with the flyer than the main force, I can let Vander get beat up, and then have Etier tell the flyer how we feel next round. Speaking of the enemy round, it went as you'd expect, with the spearman doing what he could to Alfred before getting mulched, and the archer near Louis noting, "Hey, the squishy mage can take a lot more damage than the bulky Louis, so let's shoot at her," even though magic classes take one look at the extra avoid rate you get from trees and laughs in mystical gobbledygook. With that done, the enemy had made good progress at whittling Chloe down, but with Louis right there, the archer wouldn't have enough range to reach her, or enough damage to kill Saline, which meant it was time to free up that direction by having Saline assist our hapless flyer. Luckily for me, the type of enemy we're up against are mostly corrupted, which are basically just undead, but the game wanted to be fancy about it. What makes that lucky is that the initial weapon that Emblem Celica lets you use while engaged does heavy damage to Same, which probably means I should have equipped it before using Warp Ragnarok to teleport into archer range, but that's neither here nor there. Either way, Saline takes out one, Chloe the other, and since Louis wasn't making much progress against the armored dude, stab in the dark.
Wow, really? Okay, then. Maybe Chloe could move, after all.
Yeah, I was not expecting that hit, but at least it makes things easier on the rest. Getting back to the main force, Etier on her own isn't quite enough to take out the flyer, but having our mounted axe swinger move forward to guard against the incoming spearmen, basically anyone that isn't named Clan or Fram can knock him down the rest of the...
Wow, really?
RN Jesus giveth, RN Jesus taketh away. I briefly considered hitting the rewind button, as now that we're past the tutorial levels, that's an option if I want to try a different approach, but since I had already seen the clan could survive the hit, I didn't exactly need to do a rewind. So, after witnessing Louis and his opponents both get unlucky, the AI actually decided to go after Vander to inflict break, and in concert with the two spearmen, actually brought him quite low. To keep infantry with martial weapons relevant alongside cavalry movement, they're able to assist with chain attacks, which if an ally attacks a unit they're in range of, they'll do light chip damage before the main strike. That then meant a spearman who didn't even explicitly attack Vander effectively did a whole attack's worth of damage for free. Lucky us. Still, at the top of the round, let's get back to the central area. Thanks to Alfred engaging to get access to Sigurd's Rider's Bane, allowing him to one-shot the enemy cavalry unit in the prior round, he also gets a ridiculous amount of extra movement, enough to use Sigurd's override ability to chip away at the enemy axe swingers without taking any damage or putting him in a bad position relative to their incoming reinforcements. On that note, I think we've seen enough of the armored slap fight, so end it for us, Saline. Thank you. And guess what, Louis? Your orders are going to be super important, okay? I need you to pay close attention. You are to stand there, looking imposing. Very difficult, I know, but you're the only one I can trust with this most important of tasks, okay? Okay, let's go solve our problems to the south. Fortunately, since the flyer was already damaged from Etier shooting at it once, not even Boucheron missing his chain attack would matter for that one. Down below, Flan can chip down one spearman to allow Boucheron to take it out. Fran can heal Vander a bit to be sure he survives even if he had missed his strike, and then Alir gets to chip it down more, while getting a sense for the pain her failure caused to Vander. Apart from that, we had an axe swinger who was able to take a bigger chunk out of Alfred than I expected, but with everyone there, that was an easy mop-up. Well, if I hadn't fat-fingered the attack button with Louis, but hey, Saline is right there. And even if she could do more damage to the armored unit, better to take out the more serious threat, getting it low enough for Alfred to take revenge. Oh, by the way, they deployed flyers to other forts, including the one right next to the main force. Easy pickings due to how close it is, to where I could risk throwing Fram into direct combat, but that's gonna be annoying for the central group, especially given how long it'll take the main force to get up there. At least it's only a sword flyer, so Saline could afford to one-round the armored dude with an axe and just wait for events to play out. Though, I was curious to see if I could engage in shenanigans with a full health Chloe, since she had time to heal up from the last exchanges. Thanks to Saline's unique, allies near her recover more health from consumable healing items than normal. So not only Chloe, but Alfred could step up at the ready for whatever awaited. So, was it worth it?
Ouch. I don't think the enemy will have enough speed to attack twice, but still, that's gonna hurt. Oh god. I'm already cutting it close and I'm only in chapter 4. That sounds about right.
Yeah, I'm a vote no on that one, Chief. Either way, at this point, most of the main force isn't gonna be relevant, so let's just ignore their futile attempts to join the fray. Since Alfred can't reasonably take out the armored dude, that one's left to Saline while Louis stands there looking pretty, right in time to take very little damage from the next wave of reinforcements. And after that attack, it looks like the enemy leader is done waiting for the corrupted to slowly whittle away at us, and is taking to the field himself, which means we gotta clear out the enemy quickly before he gets too close. The commander himself isn't as much of a concern compared to the mage that could actually do some real damage to Louis, so step 1, kill silly spearmen. Step 2, pull everyone back, mostly because Alfred can steal this circle to fast-track the process to re-engage Sigurd. I might have been able to get away with Saline distracting the archer, but as we'll see, the enemy commander can attack from range, so probably for the best that she remains as is. Also,
There's been a lot of strange misses since this began.
yeah, we'll talk more on that once we reach the end. For now, since everyone has been so courteous as to form a straight line, it's another chance for Emblem Sigurd's override ability to kick in. It doesn't kill, but does deal quite a bit to all, and lets Saline get an easy kill on the spearman. There's another risk in going after the archer with Chloe, and with Alfred taking up the defensive line, let's see how it works out.
Soon I'll be a legend. A man who captured the Princess of Pyrenees.
Ow.
Indeed. Thus, to make sure everything's okay, first Alfred pilfers Chloe's javelin, attacks with it to knock out the mage, and then gets back onto the fort. That way, he can retaliate against anyone who dares strike at him first, from a relatively safe position. Chloe then withdraws, since she can't take another hit like that, and has burned through her vulnerary, while Saline gets to sit tight and hope both the mage and the commander aren't enough to kill her. So, are they enough to kill her?
Oh god. You better have good magic resist or you're dead. Or that, I guess.
I would have won, you know, if they'd given me real soldiers.
Or it just ends when that guy dies and we just not worry about it. Well, so much for what little experience I could get from that mage. Welp. At least that was relatively straightforward.
And that, as they say, is that. Since we're still in the early game, we're not expecting it to be a nail-biter throughout, as while I had some wiggle room, the slight stat boost on the enemy meant I was more compelled to follow the developers' expectations than otherwise. And with this set, it then provides me some solid units that will be carried throughout the early game at least, and all the way to the end in a couple of cases. All in all, a good map to get me back into the swing of things. Now that we've seen to the battle, all that remains is to tally up how lucky or otherwise I was. For hits and misses, the threshold will be 60%, with any hit below that or any miss above that being labeled as lucky or unlucky depending on whether it favors me or the computer. For critical hits, this one is a little more arbitrary, as they factor into decisions far less, and there's a difference between a steel weapon or emblem-enhanced weapon having a slight crit chance, as opposed to a dedicated killer weapon. As such, I'll note any crazy instance of a crit happening when the crit chance is under 10%, and note every time that an ally or enemy uses a weapon designed for crits, alongside whether it actually works as the Founding Fathers intended. I'll also be cataloging specific percentage ranges to see what the trend for my luck is, as well as tacking on any instance where a crit was wholly unnecessary every time I hit the rewind or reset buttons, and maybe some extras here and there if other shenanigans happen enough. For this battle, I'd say it was about what you'd expect. Louis seemed like a dodge tank with how many 60 and 70% he dodged, and apart from an occasional 80% miss, the probability was pretty much what you'd expect. Hell, you technically would expect one of those to occasionally miss, so between chapters 3 and 4, luck already seems to be favoring me a bit. Time will tell as to whether that trend continues, so next time we jump in, we'll find that out firsthand as the game takes us from Flora Ports to Firenze Castle. Until then, thank you all for stopping by. Let me know what you think of this style of video in the comments below, and if this format wasn't to your liking, then you can find the entire battle and all of my unedited commentary in the moment in the description. Until the next one, thank you all once again for watching, and I'll see you all later.